Hi. Good morning, class.
Very nice to meet you.
Go ahead and get started. Um, Glad to see a few new faces with us today. For those of you who have not been here the past few weeks, we have been talking about parables. Specifically, we have been talking about modern day parables. Um, who can tell me what a parable is?
It's an earthly story with a heavenly meaning.
All right, very good. Does anybody have a favorite parable in the Bible?
Sower.
Sower.
Sower of seeds.
Okay. Sower of seeds. So there are a lot of parables in the Bible that are about farming, seeds, something that was relative to people in Bible times that they could understand, that they could relate to. Today, we're going to talk about a different parable. This is not out of the Bible, but it is something that hopefully a lot of us can relate to. This is a parable about true identity. Once upon a time, in a great big forest, at the bottom of a very tall tree, there crawled along in the soft, dirty, dark earth a caterpillar who was brown and fat and squishy. His name was Bumper. The odd thing about Bumper was that he did not know he was a caterpillar. He thought he was a worm. That is why he crawled at the bottom of a very tall tree instead of climbing up into the tree, out onto the branches, onto the stems, and into the bright sunlight where he could feast on the banquet of abundant green leaves. Bumper had not always lived in the dirt. A long time ago, he had followed his true nature into the tree and out onto the leaves. And as he dined there in the bright sunshine, he grew bigger and fatter and happier, as should happen from eating lots and lots of good, green nourishment. But a wind came along, rustled through the tree branches, and shook the leaves mightily. Bumper thought he was going to fall. Bumper thought he was going to die. So he scurried off into the leaves and over the branches and down the bark of the tree to the safety of the quiet, still, and dirty earth. In the earth, he met other creatures who crawled where he liked to crawl. They identified themselves as worms. And since Bumper liked the quietness and stillness of the dirty earth, he began to think that he too was also a worm. Over time, he forgot how yummy and abundant green leaves had been. He forgot how beautiful the forest could look when viewed from very high up in the very tall tree. And he forgot that there was more to life than crawling around in the dirty earth like worms. One dreary, rainy day in the quiet, muddy earth, Bumper suddenly heard something bounce with a little plop. He poked his head out of the ground to see what had happened and came face to face with a big worm that looked just like him. Brown and round and squishy. "Who are you?" asked Bumper. "Oh my, where am I?" exclaimed the stranger. "I was munching on my dinner," she said, hanging on as best as I could to the slippery, wet leaf. Then a wind came along, and it shook me, and I fell, and here I am. But where am I? "You are with me," said Bumper. "But I do not know your name. Would you please tell me what it is?" "I'm a worm called Bumper." My apologies. I briefly forgot my manners, said the stranger. It's nice to meet you. My name is Sally. I'm a caterpillar, and I must climb back up into the tree to the place where I live. She looked up the side of a very tall tree. Bumper laughed. A caterpillar, you say? But you look just like me. You must be a worm, just like me. Sally turned her gaze to Bumper. She eyed him carefully. Yes, we do look very much alike. That means you are not a worm. That means you are a caterpillar. Bumper shook his head, his squishy brown body, and said, you and I cannot possibly be caterpillars. Caterpillars are glorious creatures that live in the trees instead of the earth. They build cocoons in the leaves and become gorgeous butterflies. You're just a worm like me. Come, follow me, and I will show you where to find some dirt that is really delightful to wiggle through. Sally replied, oh no, my friend. I am indeed a caterpillar. In fact, I was about to start building my cocoon when along came this rainstorm and its wind, and I failed to hang on tight enough. So I fell. Her attitude astounded Bumper. How arrogant for you to claim to be a caterpillar. You are telling me that you are better than I am? Yet we are alike. Sally sighed. You are not a worm, my friend. You are a caterpillar, like me. You should be feasting on the banquet of abundant green leaves when you are high up in a very tall tree. I'm going to start the long climb up there now. Why don't you join me? How can you say I am not a worm? Insisted Bumper. Can't you see that I live and crawl and eat in the soft, dirty earth? And you certainly are no better than I. You have no right to claim that you are a caterpillar, or by that claim to imply that someday you'll become a gorgeous butterfly. Sally stared silently at Bumper for a minute. Then she turned around and started to head for the tree. It's a very long climb back up to the leaves, she said, but it's a climb that I must take. I can't force you to come with me. I can't make you believe that I am indeed a caterpillar, and that you are too. But I can tell you that up in the tree, a very long journey from here, there is an abundance of delicious green leaves in the bright sunshine. But I can't make you understand how delightful they are to feast upon. It's worth all the hardship of getting up there. I invite you to come along, but the choice is yours. Bumper looked high, up into the roof of the forest. Aren't you afraid of falling again when the wind returns? A worm who thinks he can live up there and eat there and not fall off is living in an illusion. Sally attached her front feet to the base of the tree. The fall is not what we should fear. Staying in the dirt after the fall, now that is what should make us tremble with motivation to do what we have to do to become the butterflies we were created to be. And with one last look at Bumper, she said, you cannot see the real me, nor can you know the real you, unless you give this tree a good try. That's the story.
That's really good. I didn't like last week's, but I do like that.
So we don't know whether or not he went?
Well, that was the last
Whether he
one.
went or not, I don't think is the story.
Yeah.
Stories and the opportunities there.
The parable is in that last line she said. That was the glorious lesson.
And with one last look, she said, you cannot see the real me, nor can you know the real you, unless you give this tree a good try. So in this story, what does the tree represent?
Heaven.
Life? Heaven? So, are we ever afraid that we're going to fall?
Sure. Yeah, it happens, doesn't it?
All the time.
Happens all the time. Do any of us know of any opportunities in our past where we've fallen?
Yes.
Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dread them. For the Lord your God is the one who is going with you. He will not desert you or abandon you. Hebrews 13:5-6. Make sure that your character is free from the love of money, being content with what you have. For he himself has said, I will never desert you, nor will I ever abandon you. So that we confidently say, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What will man do to me? So, should we be afraid to fall? Should. So, where do we turn for safety? So in this story, Bumper, he felt safe on the earth. He felt safe in the dirt. He felt safe when it rained and it got muddy and he could nestle into the mud and just hide safe on the earth because there's no risk of a fall. So was Bumper truly safe on the earth?
He hadn't met any birds yet.
Yeah, right.
Maybe temporarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, temporary.
He thought he was safe, but he wasn't living life to the fullest.
Right. He wasn't
He
living.
wasn't experiencing a lot of the things that he could experience had he been who he was really created to be.
That's right.
Sounds like he thought he was a pig. That was your legend.
Very good. 1 Samuel 2:9. He watches over the feet of his godly ones, but the wicked ones are silenced in darkness, for not by might shall a person prevail. Hebrews 13:6. So that we confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What will man do to me? And then Psalm 16:8-9. I've set the Lord continually before me, because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad, my glory rejoices, my flesh also will dwell securely. So, do we ever take refuge in worldly things or worldly places? Certainly. If not us, do we know of people that take refuge in worldly things?
Everybody does to a certain extent. I mean, we think about, we plan for our retirement, you know, if not us to have money, for our kids to have money to take care of us.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Do we ever take refuge in spiritual things?
Hopefully, all of it. Gratitude for one.
She was in church this morning.
Amen.
Refuge. Worldly things or spiritual things? Do we ever recognize someone who is taking refuge in the wrong thing? And what do we do? Hopefully we try to encourage them. Hopefully try to live by example. 1 John 3:1. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Psalm 91:2. The world may shift and quake beneath our feet, but Christ is our strong tower, our refuge, our peace. So in this story, what does the ground represent?
Right.
From the front row, the rut we live in. Yeah.
It does.
And the tree we said represents life, or maybe heaven.
Oh, the tree represents a struggle, and we struggle through this life. That's how I view it. I think heaven is probably the sky beyond, once the transformation happens,
Yeah.
the butterfly's realm is the sky.
I guess the ground could be also a place where people find themselves when they fall away temporarily. Maybe they fall into some sort of sin, and it can be deceiving, or they can find their way back up and be who their God intended for them to be. So,
Of course, we could have gratitude for the ground too, that we don't go any further.
That's true.
I think of the ground as my comfort zone. You sit there and
Yeah,
not have to do anything.
yeah.
And you get to waddle around in the dark and, you know, yeah, mud, dirt,
But we have the opportunity to climb back up.
yeah. But climbing back up's work. It's out of your comfort zone.
Roger, do you have a comment? No.
You probably do.
So climbing the tree sounds like work. But once you climb that tree and you get out on the branches to the end where the green leaves are, this caterpillar can actually reach the goal where the sunshine is, where they can eat, where they can grow, where they can build their cocoon and transform and become who they were intended to be.
the tree could also be the verse about when you encounter various trials. Well, falling on the ground could be that trial. And climbing back up the tree could be the perseverance that a person has to experience in order to get through a trial. So I kind of look at it like that too.
Okay?
I also think that Sally represents another member of Christ who's fallen as well, but is also willing to help those along that has fallen. True evangelism in his words. I think that's one thing that in the parable shouldn't be taken lightly, because throughout our Christian experience, a lot of us try to muscle through things alone. But as proven time and time again by the Bible, we can't do that. We always need the grace of God, and God will oftentimes show himself through other people. And so I think that's where Bumper, in this case, figuratively speaking, bumped heads with that idea, because he had always viewed himself as a worm, but he didn't see what he truly was, or in this case, what God was trying to make him out to be.
Well said.
Sally was a missionary.
So, do we find ourselves associating with other people that crawl on the ground?
If you do, you stay there.
Now, wait a minute. You stay there now. You bring them back up with you, like Sally is doing.
But if you stay on the ground, Sally was going back
Oh,
to
yeah,
climb.
she was
She
gone.
wasn't staying on the ground.
Yeah.
She was going back. So if we associate constantly, and now we know, even in our climb, we're gonna fall back down. So maybe when we fall, we carry somebody back with us. But if we stay down there,
You associate yourself with the worms.
yeah, you become a worm. You change yourself into a worm.
2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. Proverbs 13:20. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm.
What's-
Romans,
Where's the proverb about dogs? Do you have that? You lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas?
That's a Texas proverb.
It's in Proverbs somewhere. Let me see if I can find that, I'm sorry.
I got Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. So ultimately, Sally's goal of climbing the tree was not just to reach the branch and the limb and the leaves, but was the ability to get to the sunshine. Ultimately, her attempt to influence Bumper, I don't know your name, but as stated,
Mason.
Mason, was to be a good influence on Bumper and get him to join her, to reach the sunshine. So, if we end up on the ground, do we ever find ourselves getting a little dirty?
Yeah.
If we get a little dirty or a little muddy long enough, what happens?
Makes me think of the prodigal son. He had fallen, and he went back, he realized, hey, this is not the place my father could, make me, and I would be better than being here in the home again. So, that's what that parable reminded me of.
So, Bumper in this story spent enough time on the earth, in the dirt, in the mud, that he became unrecognizable to himself. Now, Sally wasn't fooled. No, you're a caterpillar. He thought she sounded very good. In the story, why do you think you're better than both worms? We both live in the dirt. So if we spend too much time in the dirt or in the mud, are we still recognizable?
To God we are. He knows who we are, wherever we are. We just have to get cleaned up.
Right? Isaiah 1:16, wash and make yourselves clean. Take the evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Acts 22:16, and now what are you waiting for? Get up, be baptized, wash your sins away, calling on his name. Hebrews 10:26, if we deliberately keep on sinning after we've received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left. So if he can still see the dirt, can others?
Sure. If we're looking.
So in this case, Bumper was convinced that he was a worm. He had been in the dirt so long. I'll say he didn't remember that he was a caterpillar. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Isaiah 64:6, we have all become like one who is unclean, and all our righteous deeds are like a polluted garment. We all fade like a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, take us away. So what steps can we take to get clean?
For one, realizing that we're dirty in the first place.
Read the Bible.
Repent, that's basically what the Bible says if you want forgiveness of your sin, repent and baptize. If you would like, consider that person who caterpillar who fell, maybe had already been in that state. Really, all they had to do is turn back to that way of life. They had to turn away from the dirty life, so to speak, go back to the clean life. That's just what repentance is. Really, it starts before you're baptized, but it lasts a lifetime. You're always in that state of turning from something wrong towards something right. So repentance is really something we do all our life.
The caterpillar knew her true identity. Just as believers, we find our identity in Jesus. The caterpillar fell, but she knew that she could turn back and receive that grace and mercy. We're a little bumpy or whatever it is. Was lost until he could realize that he needed whatever his caterpillar brain had. She was trying to help.
You know, there are several examples of people in the Bible that prayed, and God sent those. I mean, he sent Ananias to Saul, and he sent Peter to Cornelius, and so we can pray. Sometimes we don't feel like that our prayers get maybe beyond here, or as far as we can reach, but God hears them. And that's the other thing is that those of us that are on the tree need to recognize we need to listen when God tries to send us instead of saying, send him.
But we're told to be in a community, and that community should know who we are, and that community should encourage us and call us back out to where we should be.
Hopefully we have those that love us enough to pull us back to the tree.
So, do the worms represent someone who's never been saved?
The worms were not a character in this story.
There weren't?
Nope, there was
The
no
worms
worms.
said, well, I thought there were worms in oil with.
I wouldn't win on that. I think he fell down and he was hanging out with worms.
He kind of enjoyed the other worms, right?
Yeah.
The company of the other worms.
It didn't say that.
I think at the beginning.
It just said that he thought he was a worm.
Well, it said the other worm said,
It was nice.
I'm just going to start the whole story over.
Where's the swimming pool?
The thing about Bumper was that he didn't know he was a caterpillar, he thought he was a worm. That's why he crawled at the bottom of the large tree. So, I think he knew what worms were.
Sure.
Up to the guest in the second row.
If you use this as a parable example of the tree being our race towards salvation, we're all going to stumble and fall. And some people give up because they end up doing things that they don't think they'll be forgiven for, and so they don't want to continue the race. And people have to convince them of the love and mercy that the Father has. But you have to, Paul said, you have to finish the race, not looking backwards, always looking forwards. And that's what we want to be. We want to end up with Jesus and the Lord in heaven. So we have to be a butterfly. So we got to keep climbing that tree regardless how many times we fall, because we need to finish that race.
Right.
Sometimes that fallen person could be the person that could help that individual who has fallen better than someone that hasn't fallen before, because they have something in common with that individual. They can tell them how they overcame, that would probably help them overcome that situation also. So when you fall, you use that to the advantage of let the Spirit guide you in the direction you should go when you're trying to help someone recover from their fall.
And, just to circle back to the church, when Brother Greg talked about the funeral, that's just something we could walk out of here and get in 30 seconds. Happen. And so, as believers and Christians, I would think that it would probably be pretty much our duty to be independent and sincere, and do what we can, so that when the funeral comes, Brother Gary doesn't have to stand up there and loud like a dog about how great we were. You make it a little easier on him.
Make my job easy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, do good.
Be grateful.
Be grateful, yes.
Be grateful. Okay, do we associate with those that may be dirty?
All of us are dirty in some respects, so yeah.
If you're a missionary, you definitely do.
So do we look, or do we approach people that we find may be dirty?
Whether we know it or not, and we carry our dirt sometimes with us.
We should.
Let's hope so.
How else would they have a positive influence if they were never approached? So when we minister to others, do we ever sound arrogant?
Sure. To them. Bumper thought that Sally was arrogant. You just think you're better than me because you think you're a caterpillar.
So that makes it sound like Sally might be unapproachable. But she wasn't intending to be.
And she
That was
didn't
not her
let
purpose.
Bumper accusing her of being arrogant stop her either. And sometimes we think, well, they might think I'm arrogant, but being saved is not about being arrogant. Being saved is being blessed. Hopefully, we're able to share that part of it.
So what does the banquet of green leaves represent?
The blessings we have in this place.
All the blessings of Christ.
Studying the word. Fruits of the Spirit.
And, I mean, that was sort of her goal. The leaves are great, and they taste great. They will make you bigger.
Out of the leaves where she could
Feast.
feast and build her cocoon and grow in the sunshine. Shouldn't we all seek the sunshine?
Amen.
And we should try to encourage those who are not familiar with the sunshine to make that journey for the sunshine as well. Do you ever think the long climb up the tree is deterring us from making the climb? It takes that.
I think you have to believe that it will be worth the effort. Because if you don't believe, you won't even try. So you have to, first of all, be convinced that going up that tree is going to be beneficial. If you don't believe it, you won't do it.
Well, that's like going up a hike up a steep hill. 'Cause it is not easy to do that, and it is so much easier just to stay at the bottom and wait until whoever you're with goes up there and comes back. But when you get there, and the view that you see, you go, I've never heard anybody say that it wasn't worth the climb. So,
But the son probably had a pretty hard trip back home too.
well,
I agree.
he couldn't wait. He realized he was starving.
Climbing the tree is just a manifestation of what you believe. It's
2 Timothy 4:7, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the course, I have kept the faith. Galatians 5:7, you were running a good race. Who cut in on you to keep you from obeying the truth? James 1:12, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. So in this story, do we fear falling out of the tree? It's a long climb. It's a hard climb. Do we fear making that climb?
Fear is the right word. I can't think of what the right word is. The fear of falling is not a fear of.
Bumper was,
Bumper was, yeah.
If you have basked long enough in the sunshine, it's not a hard climb. Because you know how fabulous it is. You know how wonderful. I mean, that's why Sally couldn't wait to get back. She knew how great the leaves were, how great the sunshine was, and that the cocoon was ready. You know, when we dwell on the dark, quiet, still earth, and that's all that we dwell on, then we stay there. If we can dwell, like you said, on the sunshine and the leaves, it makes that climb just, yeah.
Like Macy said,
You're
you just gotta
building.
realize the seriousness, realize the seriousness of the importance, not minimize it, not become desensitized.
I think once you've fallen, you might fear falling again. So you take precautions so that doesn't happen. So some of the precautions could be to read your Bible, some things like that that may help you not do that again, or make the wrong decision in the future. So I think there is a certain amount of fear, but that fear is a good thing if it causes you to take the right precautions that keep you from falling again.
You build a relationship with Jesus. I'm conflicted with this, with struggling for our salvation, because it's a gift. We open our heart to Jesus, and thank goodness for grace and mercy. And we do fall. We fall every day. We don't want to wallow in the dirt, but when we turn back our eyes to the, I think of the tree as Jesus. When we turn our eyes back to the tree, we build that relationship. We shouldn't fear a struggle, because we're certainly not working for salvation. It's only God's love and mercy.
I feel like, we're all born of God, in God. So it's up to us to lose that status. And that's the story. But I think what the story also illustrates to us is it is a difficult climb. It's actually an impossible
Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. In Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Okay, so are we motivated to become what we were created to be?
Yeah. That's why we're here, we're motivated.
We should be driven by eternity is the book that Lamon taught.
We need to be motivated to bring more bumpers with us.
We should be motivated. We should be motivated to bring others with us. So do we motivate others?
Yeah.
Well, are we a creature of gratitude that others want to be around, or like Gary talked about, the negative that nobody wants to be around? That's our, and his first slide was gratitude's a choice. So we get to choose that.
And you also have to come to the realization, for one, if you want to be a leader, you also have to know the follower as well. It's why Christ also emphasized the importance of the innocence of children within the ministry. And also, we all have to realize that we have one, maybe even still are vulnerable. And that we should look to other people like Sally, God that help us, or most importantly, God through other things help us as well. I think we go through the mindset that we're always Sally. He can lead to a form of arrogance that we may not want to project, but let's just be honest, it's not a very high regard for Christians, and either that has been manufactured through other means, but we have to take responsibility as well as that we play into that portion.
I think God, made the church so that we could be encouragers to each other, because we're going to have to help each other get there, or none of us make it. So the way He designed us and designed the church.
This is most definitely not a solo act.
1 Thessalonians 5:11, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you also are doing. Hebrews 10:24, let's consider how to encourage one another in love and good deeds. Romans 15:2, each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to his edification. 1 Corinthians 16:13, be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. That's all I got.
That was really good.
I like that one.
So in closing, the fall is not what we should fear. Staying in the dirt after the fall.
That is.
All right, thank you, class. Any closing comments, thoughts? Don't forget the Campfire Fellowship. It's this afternoon. If you're not aware, the hug line starts behind Judy right over here. Make sure you get in line and give some love to Judy.
We'll also accept any volunteers to help move on Thursday.
Yes.
At the 10th. Yeah.
Judy needs a lot of volunteers. She doesn't have a ton of stuff, but she has a couple of things that are heavy.
All right, Thursday.
What time, David?
9-ish. Something like that.
We're picking up the truck at
We're picking up the truck at 9, so it's
10.
closer to 10.
Finish. Okay. All right, well, that's all I got. Thank you for everyone's participation today. See you all in a couple of hours.